going on, everybody? The Get Back guys are back. Look at this, all three of us back at it again. Thank you. Shout out to Zach, our buddy Zach, friend of the show, who stepped in when Kyle bailed on me last week.
Hey.
At least Nick bailed on me, in advance.
It's true.
But we are here for the Get Back guys, the latest episode. And I'm gonna say this. I'm hosting today, and we film these episodes normally the day before air, for the most part, Wednesday before. And if you're paying attention to the world, there's a lot of crazy stuff going on today as we're filming this. And so from the Get Back guys, for the two listeners we have, I think it's a little more than that, but two listeners we have, just remember to stay kind out there, be safe, and just don't be an a-hole. Simple as that.
Well said.
But we even maybe at one point talked about, do we want to shoot tonight? We're kind of emotionally drained, lots going on, but it'll be nice to kind of just talk about sports, get a little distraction in our lives. So let's get right into it. And what better place to start than the Miami Heat? I know Kyle was like, are we going to want to talk about NBA? But the Miami Heat play now. And the quicker we get this over with, quicker I get to go watch. But go Heat. All right, end of the NBA talk.
Let's get moving.
Spurs for Nick.
Hey, yeah. Kawhi came out on bottom yesterday. Go Spurs, go.
But I'm just going to start off, since I'm the only non-playoff team, so I got to be the smallest dog in the room to bark the loudest here.
Loser.
Don't make me not root for your pack here, boy. Let's talk about the wackiness of that Sunday night football game. And my perspective as an Eagle fan. So, I was asked by a friend of ours if I wanted to win or if I wanted the higher pick. And the choice was the 6th pick if we lost, the 9th pick if we won. If we won, the Giants are in the playoffs. Obviously, they were mad. Joe Judge was mad. But they also, we actually, by them losing, everybody talks about how the Eagles lost, gave them 3 more spots ahead to go take a really good player, like one of these wide receivers that might drop a little bit, which has been speculated. But the Giants ended up getting 8 picks higher in the draft because of us, because they weren't going to get the 18th pick, assuming they lose, but they would have gotten, I think they have like the 10th pick or something like that. So, complain all you want, but to Giants fans, be better. You don't rely on another team to get you where you need to go. You guys were awful this year. Yes, we were worse than you, but you also didn't beat us in that last game of the year. So why don't you go out and win a game, and then we'll talk about that, huh? Joe Judge, you need to relax too. You're ridiculous, and I don't mind you as a coach, but be better, and then you don't have to rely on other teams. I do think this game is not a big deal. I don't think the benching of Hurts is a big deal. If this was at 4 p.m. or 2 our time or 11 or something like that, like this, no one's talking about this game. If you put Rams, what was it? The Rams Cardinals game on Sunday Night Football, like no one's talking about it. And it's annoying. Yes, I am upset because I did want to win, because the idea of the statement saying, hey, even at our worst, Washington football team, you can't beat us. Like, that statement in our home was a statement I liked, and I want to win. I want to win football games as a fan, but obviously I am okay getting a higher draft pick, especially if one of these wide receivers gets to us at 6, because them boys.
If you get Jamar Chase,
that's what a lot of people
watch
think.
out.
Be pretty
fall. I don't know if he'll fall that far.
Or Smith. But Doug Peterson said all week, Chris Collinsworth said it on the broadcast. He said, no, Doug told us we were going to see Sudfeld. And the biggest thing that he kept saying is, though, well, we expected it would be a blowout if we saw Sudfeld. That's what Chris's point of view was when he talked to Doug. He said, I assumed that would have been that if they're getting blown out or the game's not close, you bring in a Nate Sudfeld to either spark up your offense, see what he's got, not bring him in when it's a 1-score game. And I think a lot of people are really blowing this as the tanking. And I really, at the end of the day, don't think I really don't think that was the Eagles' intention to tank to get 3 picks higher. I think they are more than happy to give up another pick to trade up to 6. There's been a lot of tweets I think are very funny, which I think are are likely if a player we don't like or if a player we really wanted ends up not falling to us at 6, is that we actually trade back to like 9 or 10, which would be funny. I think people are blowing everything out of proportion. I love Jason Kelce had an incredible statement today about everything, brought up how he was told, other captains were told on the team that at some point Sudfeld's coming into the game, and that when it happened, Kelce went up to Doug and said, "You're putting Sud in?" And Doug just said, "Yes, I told you we were going to roll with him at some point. I want to see what he can do." And Jason Kelce said the response to the team or from the team was, "We can win with him. He's been here for 4 years. He has been on this team. We know him. We like him. We can win with him." Obviously, Sudfeld played very bad, and this has not been talked about enough. Jalen Hurts did not play very good. Yes, he had 2 touchdowns and he ran them in. Love the movement on the legs. But when you look at the game as a whole, he didn't play very good. He had missed throws. He was getting hit a lot, just like Wentz all year. Wide receivers weren't breaking on their routes. All of the same problems were still happening when we play any team. And I wasn't super shocked at everything that happened. I was shocked at the Sudfeld pull, because I didn't know it was happening, but I was not shocked to see some of the struggles. I mean, Hurts just didn't play great. And yes, I'll take those 2 rushing touchdowns to keep it a 1-score game and keep the kid in any day of the week over what ended up happening for wanting a win. But at the end of the day, we lost. The Giants need to calm down. If you were a fan of the Giants mad at the Eagles, I gave you Sunday to be mad, maybe part of Monday. But now it's time to move on because you weren't very good and you would have gotten blown out this week by the Bucs. The Bucs would have slaughtered you. We'll get to our playoff talk here in a second, but this team needs a lot done. What's also really interesting is they kept saying all night that Howie Roseman and Doug Peterson were supposed to meet with our owner yesterday, and that was going to be the meeting to decide everything, and I haven't heard a peep. Nothing. Which makes me think that they are both staying and going through the motions of what Jeffrey expects to change. So I think that could be a Howie Roseman being pulled off of main GM status and becoming more of a contract guy, which has been talked about a lot, or Dougie P being told, "Look, you have to bring in a legit offensive coordinator here." All speculation right now is actually leaning towards Carson Wentz staying with the team. The reports that came out about him having a fractured relationship was from ESPN, not from anybody close to the facility. He said he had sources. But everything I've seen, and a report came out later, beat writers close to the Eagles came out and said that everybody has denied that. His agents denied it, that it's not true. He did not talk to the media, which is telling because, if you are going to compete or you want to stay here or those reports are false, why not talk to the media and put your stamp on it? He's not the only vet who didn't talk to the media. Derek Barnett didn't talk to the media. A couple others didn't. So we need a lot of changes. I still don't know how. Howie Roseman, how do you just suddenly get Alshon Jeffrey and Malik Jackson to suddenly renegotiate their contract and open up? I think he opened up like $12.5 million in cap. How? I've been doing nothing but trashing you for the last 10 weeks, and then you pull out a wizard move. Why couldn't you do that last year? So we could go get somebody who's a decent, good lineman instead of an old man like JP, as much as I love him. Like, I just don't get it. I just don't get what the season is, because the second the season ends, all of a sudden Howie Roseman's like, all right, you got to renegotiate your deal. And they're like, okay.
Well, they probably realized after this year, they were like, oh, we're not going to be able to get the bag. We're going to get cut if we don't renegotiate, especially with the cap potentially going down.
The renegotiations opens up a better trade possibility for them. I hope we do not keep Alshon Jeffrey. Malik, I wouldn't mind keeping as a rotation guy. but because he's still a good baller behind Fletch and Hargrave, but Alshon needs to go. I don't know what's going to happen. I'm glad I'm not in the decision making. It was a weird move. Yeah, I've talked a lot over the last couple of weeks about do they keep Wentz or not. I think Wentz has the higher ceiling still than Jalen Hurts, as much as I like Jalen Hurts, and I think fixing Wentz should be the priority. But if the relationship is actually fractured and you need to move off him, then a change of scenery is good for both teams. And we've got a good backup we can roll with. The hope that he, is average or above. So we're in a weird position. I love our schedule next year when they announced who we're playing. Oh my gosh, playing bad teams. I love a good last place schedule. It's nice. It was immediately, I was like, I think we can beat these teams and go 10-6. Like immediately I thought that. I don't know if that'll happen. Probably won't, but lot to figure out. I hope we go get a stud in the draft. Jim Schwartz will not be returning was the other kind of big piece of news to wrap this up. And I'm ready for that to move on. Jim Schwartz gets honestly, he might get almost all the credit for Brandon Graham's sudden explosion since he came here, as well as our D-line coach. But I want to bring in a real strong DC. I like a Dan Quinn idea. Gus Bradley, now that he's jobless, would be a good fit. I think there's a couple guys over that I've heard, like D'Amico Ryans is the linebackers coach in the 49ers who played for Philly. He is being looked at for DC jobs, and I would love a former player to come in and get that position. Offensive coordinator, I don't know what we're going to do, but we need to get a real one. I think a legit offensive coordinator, somebody who knows the game of football. I don't necessarily think they need to be like an older guy, but a younger guy I'm fine with. I just want somebody who knows the game very well and has maybe had a little bit of experience calling plays. But this change of scenery I think will be nice. I think this team does have the potential to get back on track within a year or two to be a good competitive team. Not saying a Super Bowl contender, but a competitive team. And I hope that's what happens. But that's kind of my little soapbox. You guys have any thoughts on the Eagles? Should we just jump right to your boys in the playoffs?
I mean, I just think people overreacted to it. Like, also, it's like it makes sense. Like the Eagles would rather Washington get in the playoffs over the Giants. I feel like you guys have way more bad blood with the Giants. Yeah. Like I feel people are really blowing it out of proportion, and you guys probably don't win that game, even if Jalen Hurts is in. To be honest, like I
really don't think so either. I don't think we
so.
were gonna win regardless. We had the better chance with Hurts.
Yeah, I mean, it would have been kind of cool to see Hurts try to execute a comeback and kind of
see what he could do.
A game that kind of matters to knock a team out of the playoffs, but I don't think it really matters. You guys are in a kind of an odd position with Carson Wentz, and I think, unless you really think he's going to get back to a borderline Pro Bowl type quarterback, I think it probably makes sense to move off of him as soon as possible, or else you're going to be really overpaying for multiple years to a quarterback who's below average or a backup, especially if Hurts earns the starting job. But so I think I could definitely see Wentz getting moved and you guys eat that salary for 1 year, because better eat it for 1 year than 2, I think. So
yeah,
we'll see.
Real quick before Kyle, you chime in, Chris Collinsworth on his podcast, because he's a stud, talked about how the conversations he had with Dougie, he alluded to it a little bit more on his show today, and said that everything when he asked alluded to Doug saying pretty consistently, we can fix Carson Wentz. Jalen Hurts is a backup quarterback for this team. So it's looking like Wentz will probably stay. I don't know about Ertz or those guys who I love so much. I don't know what's going to happen. Whatever happens, just do it the best way, end it the best way, and, clear the air, whether they stay or not. Just clearing the air is what's important for me. But Kyle, you have any thoughts?
I have a few. Firstly, with the Giants complaining, I'm with you guys. Like, don't try and be in a situation. Not necessarily to that extent, but just don't be in that situation to begin with, and play better, be better. Like, I don't think you're necessarily trash, but like, come on, like you shouldn't have to be in that position to begin with. So whatever, they can cry about it all they want. I agree with you about the Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts wasn't really playing that well. He had some all right throws, like some pretty solid ones, but he's still like taking a look at that game. Like you can just see like the problems with the Eagles and their offense was still there, even with Jalen Hurts, especially in that game. But nonetheless, I thought it was weird that they wanted to pull Sudfeld not only at the time that it happened, but also just in general. Like I know that it's a guy that they like and he's been in the organization for a few years, but do they really think like he's something better than Wentz or something better than Jalen Hurts? Like it's one thing. I know they didn't get a preseason, so they weren't able to really see like what they got with him this year, but also like it just doesn't really make too much sense for me to try and, see what you got with a guy like that. Like I'm sure he's nice, but like I just don't see, it being worth it all that much. And I have a question for Alex about all this stuff with the Eagles and stuff being reported. Like there's been so many times this season where, Rappaport or Schefter, whoever it is coming out and being like, oh, this is something that I heard from the Eagles locker room. It doesn't look very good. And then, it gets rolled around and gets blown out of proportions. And then, the Eagles media is like, no, that from what we're hearing, this is like the exact opposite. And then we hear from like ESPN guys or whatever being like, oh, right. Yeah, that's not what we meant at all in the first place. Our bad. And it just seems to be this continued cycle where someone in the organization is leaking, whether it's the wrong information or whether it's information that's truthful to some degree, but it's not fully truthful at all. Like it feels like there's something going on within the organization that seems like they're leaking stuff when they should. And I don't know if it's like agents doing it or if it's someone the Eagles front office that's doing it. I don't know. Like, do you have any suspicions about that? Because I just have been seeing this trend throughout the whole year.
Well, it's been the last like 3 years. Like 2 years ago, there was that report that half the locker room loved Foles and hated Carson Wentz. There was a report that Carson Wentz was fighting with, acted like a stuck-up baby or something, I think is what the report said to our OC. There was this report that they would, he'd blow off all this stuff. And every single one of those reports were not from guys in Philadelphia who report on the team, who are beat writers and team reporters who are there at camp and do all this stuff. And then all those guys are coming out saying, look, I'm talking to like, Howie Roseman's number 2. I'm talking to Wentz's agent. I'm talking to this guy. I'm asking Wentz himself. And then these other ESPN reports or other reports are always just sources. They never really come out with it. So it could be Pat McAfee, shout out to the GOAT, talked about on his show once a while back that he said something along the lines of, look, in these reports, like sometimes guys will talk to the third janitor who says he saw a player throw a fit once without any context, says that to an ESPN reporter because he gets a little bit of cash in his pocket, and then that's the big headline. So I don't know who's talking. Maybe it's Howie Roseman, and it's true. Maybe it's Dougie P. I don't know. I'm going to follow the guys who are on the ground there, the beat writers, but I think people just I do think there's a little bit of just so much hate for us because we are so crazy as fans. Like when we won the Super Bowl, it was just we're the underdog, we're the best. We lost it. We're punching police horses. We're breaking gazebos, and everybody was like, "Okay, you guys are whack. Let's just roast you for the next like 4 years." You know what I mean?
Although I would be, I know this happens a lot when I'm like reading the beat writers for the Spurs and the Packers, where it's like sometimes beat writers for a city are just almost too loyal to their team, and they'll just say everything is good, and they'll be like, "Oh, nothing's wrong here. This team's awesome." And so there might be a little bit of that too, where some of the beat writers are like, "No, we'll keep Wentz because the best option for us is Wentz is going to become a great player next year, and then everything's fine again if it becomes an elite quarterback." So let's just say that.
Yeah, there are a couple of beat writers in Philly though that drive me nuts. Like there's one beat writer who's the exact opposite. I feel like he trashes the Eagles at every turn. Like every turn, he trashes them, and sometimes I hate reading the beat writers because it's like like, oh, there he is again. He's saying this guy sucks or this or that. And it's like, I like that guy, or he's way caught up on somebody. But then he comes out and he'll say something like, look, all I have seen is Carson Wentz is a good guy. And it's like, all right, if the guy who hates the team but covers the team is saying it, I feel one way. But you're definitely right. There definitely could be some bias. I just try to pick through the sand here a little bit and just try to find what's true or what seems most likely. But any other thoughts on my Eagles, or should we just get to the playoffs?
Let's talk about the interesting teams now.
All right. So the New York Jets, they fired Adam Gase.
Oh, hallelujah.
Yeah, we wanted to just get it out.
Oh,
I will say
love
this,
it.
real quickly. The Celtics Heat game, everybody kneeled coming out, and they've made a joint statement saying, look, we're playing this game. Which is something, I don't know if you guys thought about this at all today, but I was thinking about it just knowing the Heat were playing tonight. I was thinking, I wonder if they're going to protest, stay in the locker room. But I didn't think it was probably going to happen. But I like that. Shout out to my boys in the Celtics for doing something cool like that. But
more teams will do that for sure.
I'm going to just run down the order, and we'll just talk about those teams. And we'll get to each year's as we go here. Because you're both in the playoffs. So the first game is Saturday at 11:05. Colts at the Buffalo Billies. Colts kicking the Dolphins out of town.
Sad.
Oh, they bumped them out. Right. They bumped them out.
Well,
of
the
playoff
Dolphins
contention.
did it to themselves.
I know, but it was a bummer.
Yeah, but they still they'll be a good team.
If the Dolphins had won, I don't think people would be crying and yelling that the Colts didn't get in. Like, you guys suck because you won your game and we didn't get in or whatever. But what do you guys think? Kyle, what do you think? Colts, Bills, who you taking?
Oh, you know what? I mean, I think I will be going for the Bills, but I'm going to root for both teams. I mean, you guys know that I have a weird infatuation with like the Colts and how they structure out their team. I've really liked what I've seen from them like the second half of this year. They have such a great running game, and Jonathan Taylor's coming to his own. Phil Rivers looks pretty darn good. I mean, we still see some Riverness to, his throwing every once in a while, but for the most part, like he looks like he's in a much better situation behind a much better O-line. So I really appreciate that. But I think the Bills right now, like they're just on an even hotter streak than what the Colts are dealing with. Like I think the Colts defense could slow them down a little bit, but what I mean by that is saying instead of scoring 40 points, they score 30 instead, So I think that will be like a fun game. I can't wait to see, this almost air raid Buffalo Bills offense versus like the Colts running offense, like going head to head. But I think the Colts are on just such a big momentum right now that they're going to keep it going.
The Colts are?
Bills.
Oh,
my bad.
Yeah, I think the Bills probably roll. I mean, I'm way lower on the Colts than everyone, and I'm sad that they made the playoffs over the Dolphins. But I think I think there's two teams that can upset the Chiefs, and I still think the Chiefs are the big favorites. Yeah. And I think the Bills are one of them in the AFC. I think there's two teams that can upset them. And so I think the Bills have a really good chance. I mean, they would be they're 13-3, but they were a Hail Mary away from being 14-2. They're a one seed type of team. Josh Allen's playing the best football he has all year, really, the last couple weeks. And that defense has really started playing pretty good. I mean, they rolled the Dolphins, a team that if they won, they would have gotten the playoffs. The Bills didn't have anything to play for. Maybe they would have dropped to a 3 seed, but that's not a big deal this year because there's no bye for the 2 seed. And they rolled the Dolphins. So I think they will. I don't trust Phillip Rivers in the playoffs. I don't think he's going to change from the quarterback he's been in the playoffs throughout his entire career. And I think the Bills play really good.
Yeah, I was very down on Phillip Rivers for a long time, and every year I heard the same thing. Phillip Rivers is an elite quarterback. I mean, he's very good, but he never does anything. And when he gets in the playoffs, he usually doesn't do anything. If any team benefits from a good rolling of, not getting a bye, sometimes not having the bye helps the team because you're just rolling. It's going to be these Bills. I mean, they scored 56 on a pretty good Dolphins defense, a surprisingly good Dolphins defense. So
yeah, for sure.
I think the Bills take it. It'd be cool if the Colts upset them just because I really like Frankie Reich. But and I do like Phillip and I like awesome. The team. But
Yeah.
But the Bills, I mean, I built that Joshy Allen train. I'm all on the Bills. I absolutely love them. So I love that Stephon Diggs has got this big attitude now with a chip on his shoulder, and
He's
the
going up
Vikings
against
aren't even
Xavier
in.
Rhodes too, which is a cool matchup.
Ooh,
Both
that would be
Vikings.
great. That'll be a lot
Yeah.
of fun.
I'm guessing Diggs will come out on top.
Yeah, and you got to watch out for John Brown, and that they got that other little slot receiver who's been balling. I can't remember his
Cole
name right
Beasley,
Is it
now. No,
Cole
it's
Beasley?
the other guy.
McKenzie.
Isaiah McKenzie.
Yeah, McKenzie. Yeah, he's balling.
Yeah. Especially last game.
right.
Oh,
So we all take Bills there, huh?
yeah.
Yep.
All right. So the next game, Kyle, 2:40 our time here. Rams at Seattle Seahawks. You taking Rams, huh? Is Goop playing?
No,
No, I don't think so.
No,
Jared
he had his
Goop ain't
thumbs.
playing.
Had his thumb surgery. Yeah, can't play.
You're gonna roll him.
Yeah.
You're more confident than I am. I mean, I'm gonna say my
ridiculous.
Seahawks will. I mean, I'm just saying, like, that Rams defense is still pretty good. McVay can easily like scheme our way out of beating Pete Carroll. He's done it multiple times before, and this was our best win against McVay like 2 weeks ago. And after seeing that loss that McVay took, like, it's possible that he's like, okay, I'm going to strategize even more to beat these guys. And I know they don't have Jared Goff, and I don't know anything about this other quarterback, but I don't know. McVay, I think, is just so crafty that he could find a way to make this game competitive. And watching the Hawks offense is just so frustrating lately. So I won't be shocked if the Rams are able to pull an upset, but I'm going to go for the Hawks because, I gotta go for them.
Yeah, I think the Hawks should win, even if, the last 9 games, the Hawks offense has been very unimpressive. And even then, they should still beat this Rams team by almost 2 touchdowns, probably, just because even though that defense is so good, even though that defense is so good, like, you can't play that bad of a quarterback as a 3 seed and not roll them. So I don't think the Seahawks are that big of a threat to make it to the Super Bowl. But I do think they should beat the Rams unless Sean McVay dials up an all-time performance calling plays and, they get a ton out of their running backs, and Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods are taking 5-yard outs, 30 yards every play or something. Probably not going to happen. So I think the Hawks roll.
Yeah, unless he's got Nick Foles' package in the playbook.
They do have Blake Bortles, who's their 3rd stringer, I'm pretty sure.
Why is Blake Bortles
why are they not
over
starting
this guy?
Blake?
Because Blake's trash.
No, Blake's with the Broncos.
I thought he was on this. I swear I saw him on the side.
I think it was last year. I don't think he's on. I don't think he's there.
Anyway,
that's why they have
Nick's
to go with this
guy. That up. Look, I have watched quite a few Russell Wilson conversations in our little circle of friends.
Yeah, no, Blake Bortles is on the Rams. I thought he was
on the Broncos. All right.
Well, I think he might have got cut again or something, but he's their 3rd string. Weird. But that shows you how bad another quarterback is. We'll talk about in a little bit. Recently, right. Big Ben.
Right. You should roll them. If you don't roll them and Russell Wilson loses to a guy who's starting his 2nd game ever and he plays well.
Yeah, that'd be so funny.
That's going to be a fun get back, guys.
It will not be funny.
I
will be
Look, depressed. Russ, since the Legion of Boom, does not have a good record against any good quarterback in the playoffs. Obviously, with the Legion of Boom, he did have a good record, so it will be interesting. But they should win. The Seahawks should not lose this game at home.
I'm just saying, like, don't be rolled over shocked if they do. Like, the Rams are a pretty good team, and I think McVay and their defensive coordinator, after learning from us beating them, could find a way. I think the game will be pretty close.
You guys do like to play close games, but it is like if you have a top 5 quarterback and your defense is playing really good and you got 2 top 15, top 20 receivers, if you lose, then Russ isn't a top 5 quarterback.
Yeah.
Right?
That's a conversation for another day.
Yeah,
but
true.
And
unlikely because
they're going to win.
I do think you win.
I bet you it's 24 to maybe 10.
Yeah.
Man, if it's 24 to 10, I'm going to be happy.
It might be close to
24 to 10 than 24-21.
No, duh, you'll be.
It might be close to the start, but You guys should.
Seattle does love to play a good 9-6 game.
Oh yeah, I mean that almost happened with the Niners last week, and then finally.
Yeah, and they were playing a backup quarterback.
That's what I'm saying.
They were playing Beathard, weren't they?
Yeah, I'm just saying, don't be shocked. Beathard threw farther passes than Russ did that game. I'm just saying, don't be shocked if the Rams are.
Trust me, there's
tougher on them.
Kyle. You know, there's nothing I would love more than a fat Rams up, because then we'd get to play them.
Yeah, fair enough.
I think that shows a lot about your defense. That's I've heard improved if CJ Beathard is throwing better than Russell Wilson.
Or the Rams defense, the 49ers defense, just that good without Nick Bosa.
I'm taking the 49ers.
Don't come at me with that. Don't help him. You're supposed to be his number one enemy. I'm supposed to be the middle.
I'm going at Russ.
No, that's fine, but the 49ers defense it is actually a lot better than we expected. Yeah.
So following that, so we're all taking Seattle. Except Kyle nervously takes them. Saturday night we get
being realistic.
Saturday night we're getting the Buccaneers, TBDs, the Washington football team, the team with no name. That'd be a better name. The team with no name. They're playing
scarier.
The NFL even had to come out and say they are still playing in Washington, D.C. After the craziness of tonight. But so we get Buccaneers at Washington. Bruce Arians today said we're not playing. What is their record? The Washington is 7-9. They said we're not playing the 7-9 Washington football team. We're playing the 4-1 Washington football team since they've been 4-1 with Alex Smith. And I think he said they're not playing Dwayne Haskins, or we're not playing Dwayne Haskins. Just threw massive shade at him. But I think they roll over this team. I think the Bucs are also rolling.
Yeah, I actually think this is which is weird because it's the higher seed, but I think this is a potential upset game going into the weekend. I think the Bucs do probably or should be favored for reason, but if there is a team that's going to lose in an upset, it could be Washington, which is pretty wild considering going into the year, and how we talked about how Chase Young and this front four and front seven, how good they are. It's really going to depend on how good Chase Young and that crew plays to slow down Tom Brady, because Tom Brady's been on a roll, as we know, and he's ended the season super strong. He's the most big time throws he's ever had in a season, more than 2007 was this year, which is unbelievable. Wow. According to PFF, or at least the most since 2007. But you can still slow him down if you get pressure more than probably any quarterback, kind of upper elite tier quarterback in the playoffs, just because of his age. So that team is designed to go up against that Bucs offense. Mike Evans is a big question mark, but obviously Antonio Brown has started to play a lot better these last couple weeks. So I think the Bucs could win it, but if Alex Smith plays a really good, clean game and they're able to get to Tom Brady, I think it could be closer than it would seem on paper. And we have seen really bad 7-9 teams roll in the playoffs and get a mysterious win.
Hey,
yep. There it is. And the difference is, let's say that Seattle team had the worst plus minus in the history of the NFL going into the postseason at -91. Washington was actually +2 in point differential, which is pretty impressive for a 7-9 team. And they've had some really bad quarterback play this year. They have a pretty good defense, and I think the game could be interesting.
Kyle?
I get Nick's understanding about it being a possible upset. I don't quite see it that way. I do believe that Washington front seven is going to put on a show. Like, I don't think many people actually realize how good that front seven really is. And I think that's going to be at least the sign of letting people know, hey, like, we're 7-9 this year. We get it, but look at what we got and just wait for next year. And I think they're going to coach a pretty good game because Ron Rivera has been in these situations before, not with a 7-9 team, I don't believe, but
He
he's
had
still really
7-8-1 actually with the Panthers.
Oh, there you go. So
and
he has
they
been in this
also
situation.
won their first game in the postseason.
Get out of town. What
There you go.
team was that against?
Well, it was against the Cardinals, like third string quarterback in 2014.
Okay. Well,
Palmer was
regardless though. Oh, gotcha. Regardless though, they have the right stuff to like put on a show at least. But I think Brady and Arians have been in a position and have the better team overall. So I don't see that as too much of an upset. I just see it more as a showing for everyone to be like, hey, look at Washington and watch what we can do and watch our potential next year.
Yeah, I like Chase Young. He's very good. Be nice if he was an Eagle.
Bucks probably win.
He's a beast.
Yeah,
oh
Bucks probably win.
Man's a monster.
But Alex Smith winning would be cool. It'd be a cool story.
Yeah, no kidding. Holy cow.
So the next game Sunday morning, Ravens at the Titans. Ravens sneak in. 11 o'clock a.m. our time. Nick, who you taking?
Well, I'm going to stick. If we were going to announce Super Bowl picks, I have to stick with my preseason picks, so I have to go with the Ravens, and I'm still sticking with them to make it to the Super Bowl, even if it doesn't seem as likely because the Chiefs are so good. But I think the Ravens are really flying under the radar for how good they've played. They had a really tough streak. They had a 3-game losing streak in the middle of the year, but they also barely lost to Pittsburgh when Pittsburgh was still undefeated with their third string quarterback and a ton of people out on the COVID list. They're a really good team. Tennessee is obviously also a really good team, but I think Lamar Jackson is going to get his first playoff win, and I think that might catapult the Ravens further in the playoffs when they get kind of that relief of getting that win. Yeah, and just kind of a mental thing for Lamar saying like, hey, I did it, and I did it against a team that beat me the year before. It could be a close game, and I definitely don't want to count the Titans out because I think they're a very good football team, and Ryan Tannehill is playing good, and obviously you got the King. But I'm going to go with the Ravens, and I think the Ravens are the other team with the Bills that have a realistic chance of upsetting the Chiefs in the AFC playoffs. It should be a good game, but I think we're going to see some fireworks from Lamar.
Kyle?
I'm with Nick on this. I think that the Ravens are going to pull out the win. I noticed this with the Ravens, like you said, Nick, that they're getting hot at the right time. Like I think they figured out some of the issues that they were having on offense after that 3-game losing streak, and it's not back. I don't think it's necessarily back to form as what we saw last year, but it's getting there at least, and it's getting there at the right time. And I think after losing to Derrick Henry and that Titans offense, who just they somehow got on that hot streak, and it was really awesome to watch. I think that the Ravens are figuring out after what happened last year what they did wrong, and they're going to do it again with this Titans team. So I think it's going to be a redemption day for them, and I think they're just getting hot at the right time on offense to where they can be able to carry themselves over and possibly play teams in the championship like the Bills or the Chiefs.
And if the Ravens do lose, they'll really have to reevaluate how they've built this team around Lamar Jackson and really think about if they need to restructure some things and give him way more receiving talent than he has, because that's the one spot that they're really weak.
For sure.
But I do think they have enough talent to make a run at a Super Bowl this year.
Funny enough, I am with you both. I think the Ravens do win. If the Titans win, I'll be happy. I like the Titans. Glad they're here.
Me too.
They're a good team.
Teams.
Love Derrick Henry. But look, I think the Ravens this year, every year he's going to be their quarterback in the regular season, are trying to turn him more into a pocket passer, trying to turn him a little bit more into getting his throws accurate. But when you're in the playoffs and it's win or go home, you've backed now a hungry dog into a corner. And when he gets in there, he's going to fight. And I think Lamar is going to run a lot more, escape a lot more when he doesn't have an opening, where I think in the regular season he tries to throw a little bit more. I think teams think they have Lamar figured out still, and they really don't when he lets loose. And obviously he ran a lot this year, but I think he's going to let loose on this game. And I think he does have a chip on his shoulder. He's got something to prove. The media's talked kind of down on the Ravens. There's been times we talked a little bit down on the Ravens. They're 11-5. That's a good football team. So I think Lamar is backed into a corner, and he is, or when he gets back to that corner, he's going to let loose and he's going to fly. And I think this is probably the game I'm most excited for, because I think it's kind of the best matchup for the most part. But yeah, I'm taking Ravens all the way with you, man. We got a lot of agreements today.
Yeah.
And we'll probably continue with it. What?
Oh, I was just going to mention real quick, like, I agree, like, they're going to unleash him and use his legs, but, I mean, his throwing, I believe Lamar's throwing is almost better than last year's, isn't it? Like, at least with, like, his completion percentage or something. Like, I believe it's actually improved quite a bit. So, despite their struggles, like, somehow Lamar is able to, improve upon himself, and that's really going to come in handy. Yeah, they're probably going to use his legs a lot, like you were saying, Alex, but I think they may be able to grow their trust a bit with his arm, of course.
I don't think this is a scheme thing. This is not a coach thing. I'm talking Lamar backed into that pocket is going to do some crazy stuff, whether it's him sprinting out for a huge 80-yard gain or something, or him breaking out and finding an open man. We saw a little bit of that the last week or two. I think he himself is going to let loose, no matter what the coaches have.
He does have the big throwing comeback win against the Browns where he sealed that with his arm by using his legs. I think he's got so much confidence. He's going, I think he's an elite quarterback.
Agree.
I'm so excited to watch him play.
So the next game, Saints have the Bears coming into town. Da Bears are coming into town. They got in. Friend of the show, Zach, big Bear fan. Friend of the show, Ethan, big Bear fan. I think the Saints win this game. I don't think Mitch Trubisky's the man to get it done. Never have thought it. I got into a slight debate with our buddy Zach about Wentz versus Mitch, and I would still take Wentz this year. You put Carson Wentz on that Bears team, they're very good this year. And you put Mitch on this Eagles team, we're probably worse. Which is unheard of. Hurts starts week 2. Hurts starts week 1. But I think the defense is good. Breeze has been inconsistent with his play lately, but I think the Saints win this game. I think it'll feel weirdly tight either late in the game, like the Saints will kind of get a big lead and then it'll kind of come back as they kind of play more protect, or it'll just kind of weirdly be close, but never quite there. I think the Saints, though, will take the win. Anyone?
Nick, how about you go?
I hope so much that the Bears win. I'm going to be rooting for the Bears so hard for 2 reasons.
Because you play them?
The first is if they win, they play the Packers the next week, and there's nothing I'd love more than to roast them again because this team isn't that good. This team should not be in the playoffs. And secondly, if they do win and Mitch plays okay, then they are going to stay with him longer. I think that would be awesome for the Packers because Mitch isn't very good. So I'm rooting for the Bears a lot. I don't think they're going to win because I don't think they're that good. They've stumbled into 8 wins, and they started 5-1, and they should have lost like 3 or 4 of those first 5 games if teams didn't implode. And then when they went on their little streak and when Mitch played really good and all the Bears fans were like, oh my gosh, through 3 games or 2 games, he has the second most touchdown passes in the league behind Aaron Rodgers. He's an elite talent. And little did they know they were playing horrendous teams, horrendous defenses that week. He should, a mid quarterback should be doing what he did, especially when you have Allen Robinson and David Montgomery playing as good as they have. The Bears are not that good of a team, but I don't really trust Drew Brees in the playoffs at this point in his career. Drew Brees could definitely make some mistakes against that defense that has a lot of talent, but has kind of underperformed the last 2 years. So I think the Saints roll, but I'm going to be rooting for the Bears so hard because I would love to crush them the next week.
Kyle?
The Bears are dumb. What a dumb team. like how are they the way that they are? You know, like what was it? They went 5-0 first, and then they had 5 losses, and then they found their hot streak, as Nick explained, because of dumb reasons. It's so annoying. Like I said it over this season. Like, I'm not a fan of Matt Nagy as a coach. Like, I think that defense is really good, and they did a good job structuring that defense. But I think the quarterback is a big issue, and I don't think Nagy is as creative of an offensive coordinator as we thought it was. Like,
he's not even calling plays anymore.
Yeah.
If it is his offense, I don't even know. But I just am not impressed by his coaching or his offensive scheme to begin with. I mean, outside of Allen Robinson, he's amazing. So I'm going to go with the Saints. I do think this will finally be their chance to get out of the wild card after like losing it the last 2 or 3 years or whatever. But I also can see like the Bears defense putting on a show, because somehow, you know, that Bears team is able to make things more competitive than you would ever think. So like you think like they're just so bad, and then all of a sudden they just come out and are like, oh, we're going to make it tough on you. But why though? Because we can. So
I mean,
it'll be Saints.
Their defense they're like barely in the top 10, I'm pretty sure. And they should be way better than they are.
Yeah, for
like,
sure.
Their defense has been underwhelming. And like the Packers didn't even play that good against them in week 17, and we rolled over them.
Yeah.
So
I'm not a fan of Matt Nagy's hats decision. If you're bald, why are you wearing a visor? Your head's going to get sunburned. I just don't.
Bald and proud.
I don't understand.
Yeah,
I mean, there's nothing wrong with bald.
Not a
people,
great coach.
Just don't wear a visor. Yeah, he gave up play calling in like week 8 or something, like week 9.
Yeah, in the middle of that streak of
I'm
losing.
still not impressed.
All right, well,
100%.
There is a one more game, the final game, Sunday night. I should be able to watch most of that, fortunately, or I will be able to watch all that. Browns at Steelers. This is the other game I'm looking forward to, because the Browns are fun.
Yeah.
I wish Odell was playing. I do. I really do, because I wish they were at full capacity. But that's going to be a fun game. I think the Steelers will win, because they just rolled over with playing. Who did they play? Which one of those backups? Was it Duck Hodges or whatever?
Well, they played
Mason
the Steelers
Rudolph.
last week. Yeah,
They played
Mason
Rudolph.
Yeah.
The Browns rolled them.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just I would love the Browns to do an upset. I really would.
Oh, yeah.
I'd love it so much. But I think the Steelers will probably win. I think this will be a fun game. Thoughts?
I guess I'll take it from here. Yeah, I'm with Alex. Like, I'm so happy to see how the Browns are actually a winning team, and they went to a playoff, or they're about to go into like the wild card. Like, that's amazing. Like, in our lifetime, like, that's never happened before, I don't think. So like, that's awesome. Great for them. I do feel bad though, like not only for, you know, Odell not being able to play, but their coach is like has COVID, I guess. He tested positive, so now he's not going to be able to coach. That's not good. That's not a good situation to be in. So I really hope that like the Browns pull out a miracle and, you know, maybe make a run like the Titans did last season. Like with that run game and the way Baker's looked, like it kind of reminds me of the Titans to a degree, and I would love to see that. But the Steelers have slowed down. Like, I've been very high on this team this year, but they definitely have slowed down, lost players, and they don't look as good as they did at the start of the season. And I think the Browns know that, and they're going to do their hardest to like capitalize on that. But I think just based on experience between Tomlin and Roethlisberger, they'll get the job done. But man, would I love to see the Browns be able to get this win. Like, that would make me so happy. And even if they do lose, like, this is still a win for this organization and for this fan base. This means that they have the team to go to the playoffs, and they can get even more pieces in addition to that and make one more push. And I bet you that push could get them to a Super Bowl. So regardless, it's still a win, but I hope that they beat the Steelers.
I just love that they have their guy
awesome.
now. And I love that it's Baker. I love he's got his swagger, and Baker is the guy. He's a good quarterback. And he's got a little too much Farvey in him, and he likes to throw a lot of picks and do some crazy stuff, but I love it. I love it. Nick, what do you think? Steelers? Browns?
Yeah, if I'm gonna pick, I'm gonna actually pick the Browns.
Nice.
Cool.
Love it.
And it's
love it.
I'm not super confident in the pick, but I'm also not confident in the Steelers in the postseason. And I haven't been all year. I've talked about it that I don't trust the Steelers in a similar way that I don't trust the Saints right now. the Steelers will probably win, especially without Stefanski on the sidelines. But it should be a really close game. And to be honest, I know Big Ben's a 2-time Super Bowl champion. He's been to 3 Super Bowls, but I might trust Baker at an end of a game more than I trust Big Ben right now. Like I just, his last playoff showing, he got beaten by Blake Bortles, who can't even start a couple years later as the backup for the Rams. Like, I know that was a great defense that he played against, but like, come on, my dude. Like you had
high scoring too.
You had Antonio Brown. Like, you're coming off of a Tommy John surgery. I don't know how he's going to hold up. So I'm going to go with the Browns. Obviously the Steelers, they're 1-4 in their last 5 games, which is not great. And the Browns are feeling good. Myles Garrett, I think, is going to have a field day. And it should be a fun game, and it would be really cool to see Baker step up. Obviously, there's a reason that the Steelers it's in their building because they've played better overall throughout the year than the Browns. But I'll be a little bold and I'll go with the Browns.
All right, there you have it. Our picks. Anybody have any final thought they want to share before the Get Back guys get back to reality and hopefully eat dinner?
I get Aaron, just be better win MVP or I'm going to be sad and upset.
It's either got to be Aaron Rodgers or Derrick Henry. I mean, Derrick Henry, man's a monster.
He's been awesome. No taking away anything.
I think it'll
Henry,
go to Rodgers though.
It should. 48 touchdowns, 5 picks. Get out of town.
It'll go to Rodgers.
Second highest passer rating of all time. Let's go.
It'll go to Rodgers.
I don't know. Carson Wentz, 15 picks.
Jalen
Rager. Guy
Dominant.
played sometimes. He's still a good player. Jury's still out on Jalen. 21 years old. He's got time.
Yeah.
But all right, for the Get Back guys, that is it. Thank you guys for tuning into this episode. Remember to like, subscribe, share, do all that great stuff. Check us out on any platform. I'll link in the descriptions, whatever platform you're watching on. And go Heat.
Go Spurs.
No.
And Lonzo Ball.
Remember when Kyle was there?